Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us here at the DCKAP Summit event, Reimagine Distribution. And then next, we're going to be having Bharani come on and join us to talk about social selling in B2B, which is really exciting. Bharani Nagarathnam, the Associate Director and Instructional Assistant Professor from Texas A&M University. So thank you so much for joining us, Bharani, and I'll let you go ahead and take over. Thank you.
Oh, excellent. Thank you, Catherine. Good morning, everyone, and hello from College Station, Texas. For those of you who don't know about Texas A&M, the ID program at Texas A&M is one of the oldest, largest, and highly recognized program. We have more than 1,000 undergrads. We also have a master's program designed for working professionals. It's entirely online with the exception of a week on campus. So with that, I wanted to start by talking about distribution as sales. Karthik mentioned about his experiences, and in distribution, the sales is transforming. And some of the things that are happening are that B2B customers are becoming more informed, connected, and tech savvy. What that leads to is customers want to do their own research and connect with sales if they need and when they need. The old tactics of cold calls and sales pitches are not effective anymore. In fact, there's a research from Baylor University that says the success rate of cold calls is 0.3% in setting up meetings. What that means is you have to make 1,000 cold calls to get 3 meetings, right? So really, the B2B buying journey is being controlled by the customer, not by the distributor anymore. Majority of the buying journey is completed before even they talk to a sales rep. I think the example Karthik gave about Salesforce, a majority of the information is consumed and digested before you talk to a sales rep. I think this is accelerating in distribution, and this is leading customers who are driving your sales strategy, structure, and process. So in fact, the traditional model of inside sales, outside sales, customer service is being challenged. During the pandemic, we saw a lot of companies switch to digital tools, and customers are getting used to that. In fact, some of the research shows up to 85% of the companies expected to have hybrid sellers. So this is not in B2C or in other industries. Even in distribution, I can give you an example. This is one of our partners, Ryerson Steel. They have revamped their inside sales force with new job titles and new levels to where the job titles are really a customer facing. What is that they do for the customer, right? So a lot of things are happening. The pandemic for sure has changed the B2B sales interaction. So if you see before the pandemic, customer wanted to speak to a salesperson only if it is a completely a new product or service. But for existing products and services, they choose to have more digital meets. But post-pandemic, you see here, most B2B sellers, they want these interactions to be remote or digital. In fact, the first phase of the sales of identifying customers or suppliers is moving online to remote or digital self-service. So what does this mean for distribution? More and more people are getting their information online, doing their own research, and even a shortlisting who they want to buy from. And the salesperson is a cutout of this decision-making process. So we need to get the information to the prospective customers through many means, and one of those means is social media, right? More and more B2B buyers are now using a social media to do their research, and in fact, 79% of the salespeople report that if they use social media, that they can outperform their sales. And some of the statistics from LinkedIn, it shows that 50% or so of buyers, they research the sales rep on LinkedIn. And I'm sure we do the same thing, how we do read reviews on Amazon for products, right? But remember, a social selling is not a social marketing. Very, very similar to how a branding is not your brand. Branding is just the looks, and brand is what you stand for. Similarly, social selling is focused on the salesperson making connections with prospective and current customers one-on-one, and the focus is on the salesperson's knowledge and expertise. And marketing is really driven by the company, and it is a mass communication, mostly focused on the products and services. But social selling is more than social media. Again, social media is the place where this happens, but it is the process of developing, nurturing, and leveraging relationship online as a part of the sales process. The key for success here is sharing relevant content and interacting directly with potential customers. This is not about trying to push your product. This is really about meaningful conversations and interactions. A big part of that is the salesperson's personal branding and social listening, which is understanding the conversations that's happening in the marketplace. So some of the activities that the salesperson can and should get involved in is creating a meaningful social media post, talking about your product application, your service excellence, highlighting your customer success story, putting out how to guides, writing articles, white papers, and videos. Majority of them, as you can see, are useful content for the customer. It is not a sales pitch. It is not a marketing promotion, right? So the reason is that people find this information online and they consume this information before making a decision to talk to a salesperson. Some of the early adopters, as you will see on platforms like LinkedIn, or consulting companies, IT providers, financial services. I have personally seen healthcare distributors and electronic distributors engage in social selling. Not so much on the industrial distributors, construction distributors. In fact, I was looking for examples for this presentation. I could hardly find one from a construction distributor. Right? So how do we get there? How do we get there? The key is to get a leadership buy-in and support. The company has to support it, and a culture shift in the sales force we need to meet the customers where they are, right? Because the cold calling and driving around meeting is not effective anymore. The key with social selling is to add a value and insight. And it is a team sport, right? Marketing has to support the individual salesperson with creating images, infographics, helping them record videos, and IT needs to help them to track effectiveness and connect with customers. For the salesperson, develop a customer-specific content and create engagements and conversations. The goal is to move those conversations offline to appointments and opportunities. And we also need to continuously measure and improve these engagements. So you see an example here where the focus is on a content of load to motor inertia ratio. This is a video, and they're trying to explain to the customer why this is an important factor in a product application. So this is an example of a social selling. It's not actually selling. It's really engaging customers. As I said, a key part of this is personal branding, which is how do you influence the perception of your community, elevate your credibility, differentiate yourself from the competition, and build a reputation as an expert in your specific field. Establish an area of expertise, really a narrow area, if you will. Join groups and study experts, really to see what is the conversation about. Think about your ideal customer profile. Develop and post a professional, positive and engaging content. Discuss your product or service very subtly. Again, this is not sales. This is really trying to establish yourself as an expert in that area, right? And then try to pace yourself with content and try to engage, right? So this is another example of a customer delivery that they're selling forklifts, and they're talking about the benefits of that to the customer. And I like that hashtag, I love tortillas, right? So you see a couple of more examples here. This is an example of an application of how to eliminate, how to keep the oil dry. And this is an example of an engaging content where you post a survey and try to engage your audience. Then here's an example of they're introducing a new products. These are miniature products, and they're hosting a webinar about it. As you can see here, they are not trying to sell you anything, but really the salesperson is trying to demonstrate what they or their company can do. One of the sticking points in this that companies will have a hard time is measuring the ROI of these activities. I mean, you can spend a lot of time doing this. How can you connect this to a bottom line impact, right? It is not easy. It is not easy. I would argue that it takes time. It is a long game. You can measure activity metrics, or you can measure result metrics. And again, very, very similar to marketing. As they say, only 10% of the marketing works, but we don't know which 10%. So we have to do the 100%. Very, very similar to that. We need to keep working on this a long time. One of the intangible benefits is that by engaging in these activities, we get some market intelligence, right? One way to do that is also to look at the salesperson's social selling index on LinkedIn. They use 4 factors to come up with a score. Not a lot of other detail is provided. The one that you see is a screenshot of my social selling index that I just got this week. So in summary, digital natives have changed the sales process and journey. What do we mean by that? Digital natives are people who grew up with technology, who are comfortable with technology. All of the millennials and some of the Gen Z that you are trying to recruit now, people who are 20 or 21 right now, and then some of the Gen X. More than, I would say, 110 million of the population of the US could be considered digital natives, right? A majority of them are involved in decision making to purchase a B2B products, and they use a lot of online resources. Social selling is really unselling. The focus is on content marketing and drip marketing, not really a pushy sales tactics. It's going to help you with prospecting, increasing your brand name awareness, and create engagement. We strongly support that distributors should actively support their sales force in engaging social selling. And for distributors, this complements their sales models. This does not replace their existing sales models. This only complements them, right? With that, I want to end my presentation. We also host a talent development council with 20+ distributors. And this is one of the research areas that I work on as well. With that, I will turn it over DCKAP for the opportunity.